welcome to Uncensored. I'm your host, Jordan Maskell, recording from my studio in High Level, Alberta. Great guest on the show today, returning to the show. He's a comic with a new documentary out called 25 Sets, and he's one of the hosts of one of my favorite shows, In Hot Water. I'd like to welcome Mr. Aaron Berg to the program. So, Aaron, thanks again for making time for me to come back on, man.
Hey, man, sorry to hear about Don Cherry.
Oh, dude, I was gonna bring that up a little bit later, but
all right,
but
Take
yeah,
two.
Well,
hey,
no,
man, nice to see you.
But no, even with Don Cherry and stuff, and you and Gino are always pushing the boundaries with comedy and things like that. Look what happened to Shane, right, with SNL and stuff like that. Are you seeing it more and more nowadays down in the States?
It's starting to swing back. I mean, Shane got canceled, but he's still working. You got to know that you're not going to get these big level jobs if you're pursuing freedom of speech and comedy. Mm-hmm. It's just that's the way it's going to be. So you got to kind of be like, all right, I'm going to do what I want to do. But, anyone that's going to take me on is going to have to be really ballsy. And Saturday Night Live is not that.
And with just like putting your own content out, I think we talked about this a couple years ago. Putting out your own shit, being your own boss. How did 25 Sets sort of come to be with the documentary? And I just doing my own documentary on the big wildfire that basically evacuated High Level this past summer. It's a lot of work. So that was something that you guys were going on for a while.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I had the idea to do it, and then I talked to a girl in my acting class named Erin, and she was working with Morgan Spurlock's company at the time, and she goes, you should really document it. And I go, okay. So I put a team together, and we shot the whole thing, and then it literally took us 4 years to make it really good, and we ended up putting out a really good documentary that's like a love letter to the New York City comedy scene, and covered me doing this amazing task,
And it was a real marathon of comedy sets, because just watching through it by I don't know if it was set 19 or 20, you were exhausted, and just seeing you live. I took my sister Alexis to see Aaron, I believe last year when you were in London.
In London.
Yeah. And you fucking killed in London, but I love your crowd work, because just the ability to make stuff funny off the top of your head. And you were saying that was what you were sort of doing at the end of it, because you were so tired.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Most of the special was crowd work. There was some material in there, but most of it was crowd work. And by the end of it, I was just so dead, I couldn't even think to do crowd work. It was like, you've got a black shirt on. That's crazy.
Right on.
Nice, I'm smoking.
And
can you smell it?
And with just the stuff with the support that you guys you received from your fellow comics, what does that sort of mean to you? To hear guys like Big J, Dave Attell, Sal Vulcano giving you props, and really, it seemed like you were kind of emotional near the end of it.
Yeah, I didn't cry, but I felt like crying a few times. I'm going to say this. There's such a difference in comparing New York to Canada, because in New York, there's a real sense of camaraderie, and everybody's really fighting for the freedom of comedy, whereas in Canada, there was so much division, and everybody's just competitive with each other to try and get better, because there's way less jobs. There's really a glass ceiling in Canada. Whereas in New York, everybody knows if you're funny and you're good, you're going to work. So people support other funny people.
Mm-hmm. And I like the documentary too, because again, and not to be a fag, but when Christine's talking about how nice of a guy you are, and even meeting you last year, and just I'm a big fan of course. It was a little emotional, Aaron, to be honest. It was nice to see that sort of dynamic, because when we're saying horrible shit on our shows, people could think that we're pieces of shit. I've got it, you've got it before. So yeah, it's just kind of nice to see that.
And then you find out these people are the pieces of shit. The ones that accuse us. Shane Gillis was on Tim Dillon's podcast last week, and I guess he gave me a shout out where he's talking about, all these woke idiots. And he goes, Aaron Berg is the man. He goes, he's the nicest guy. And Tim Dillon backed him up. He's like, yeah, he's such a sweet guy. So people think if you're doing this horrific stuff and covering awful comedy, like making dark stuff funny, people think you're an asshole. But it's really these people that are super woke that are really the dicks.
And that was that's just something that I've noticed again with like Don Cherry being the most recent sort of victim, I guess, here in Canada, and just from something that I would assume, obviously we know what he was talking about, but his just misspeaking of saying "you people" and people taking it the wrong way and stuff, and you can't control what people are going to how people are going to take things, but then, a lot of times they're just kind of sensitive cunts a little bit. So, people need to kind of chill out a little bit. And
I mean, the problem exists in the United States, but it's so amplified in Canada because it's like they just have the wrong agenda right now. And you watch like in the comedy scene, that trans comic Shanty that went down for... She was calling out Louis, and she'd called out White Guys Matter, and she'd called me a piece of garbage. And then you find out she choked 5 bitches, and she was like, if you don't sleep with me, you're not going to work. And it's always these people that are chirping the loudest that have the most shit to hide.
Oh, for sure. For sure. And I just wanted to touch on one thing again with you getting punched in the dick. Now, was it by I'll say a cousin of DeAndre Harambe Jenkins, or
I believe it was. Yes, it was, yeah. I was running down the street and I kind of like tried to like shoulder check. I'm just walking.
Yeah.
So this guy didn't move, and I kind of shoulder checked him, and then he punched me in the dick. Good times.
Well, it was lovely to, kind of have while you're sort of going on this marathon, get punched in the dick. I'm sure, guys who run the New York Marathon, they get more energized when they get punched in the dick, of course.
Probably not. It was a fun little sidebar to the story. It just made it real. It's amazing. Everything happens in one night.
Yeah, for sure.
And I thought when you said earlier you didn't want to be a fag, I didn't think it was about my wife crying. I thought you were going to be like, watching you in those gym scenes made me rock hard.
Oh, absolutely. Well, how could they not, Aaron? Let's get real here.
Thank you.
Now, I want to touch on, your touring. Have we found out who was responsible for the hit and run? Aaron was struck by a vehicle. Is that what I'm to understand happened earlier today?
That's correct. What would your guess be?
My guess would be one of the people that is the reason why we should build the wall.
No.
No?
It happened in New York.
Oh, fuck,
it was a Asian man. They have a wall where they're from. It's a great war. And it was an Asian dude. And now somebody just reached out on Twitter and they go, hey, I was the guy that recognized you right after the car hit you, but he didn't see the whole thing. It was a local New York cop. He reached out on Twitter because someone goes, Aaron, are you okay? And I didn't know who it was. And I go, yeah, this guy just fucking hit me. And he just reached out on Twitter. He goes, I was the guy that yelled, Aaron, are you okay? He's a New York City cop. So
the beauty of social media.
He didn't see the whole thing, but I reported it, and then they called me, and they're like, do you want this guy arrested? And I'm like, I'm not sure. I got to see if I got injuries. And then I went to the hospital today, and they're like, you have contusions, which are basically bruising, and let's see what happens. Hopefully guy gets taken off the street, because I walk in that parking lot with my daughter a lot, and
for sure.
I don't want fucking horrific drivers around.
Absolutely. And you mentioned the Great Wall. I've only imagined how many vehicles have ran into that thing. So hopefully, hopefully you get some yen out of that for sure. I don't know how many that is, like 2 million yen or 3 million or
maybe buy a new rickshaw.
something like that.
Couple straw hats.
For sure. Now with In Hot Water and of course now Gum Fridays, I really loved since the last time we spoke, just seeing the growth of the show and going from 4 days a week. It's the show that I watch the most on Compound Media. I may not watch every day, but I kind of like, maybe at the end of the week, throw them all together, watch them all. And I'm really big fan and love what you and Gino and the cast of everybody else that you bring on is doing. Is the sort of growth, is that sort of part to do with the fans? Because the In Hot Water fan base is really strong. You guys are always getting sent shit from all over the country and things like that. So is that sort of what led up to the going to 4 days and now to Gum Fridays as well?
Yeah, I think, the demand, people wanted to see more shows, and we wanted to do more shows. And we'd be so upset when we couldn't do, a Friday show, and there were all these great stories coming out. So yeah, it's ideal. We wanted to be 5 days a week, and we're really happy doing it. And we feel like we got a good thing going. We clip along so well, and it's just so fun to do. It's such a fun show, and we don't even really try and push the boundaries anymore. It's just like second nature now. You know, that's the type of comedy we do, and we just want to keep doing it.
For sure, for sure. And one of my favorite stories within Hot Water didn't even happen on the show. It was watching the show, and I'm sitting there with Alexis, my sister, playing a couple video games, and look over, and there's a gentleman, a homosexual gentleman, blowing crack smoke into another homosexual gentleman's asshole. And so that was one of the just kind of like, oh yeah, you know, you never know what you'll get on in Hot Water, and so. Just one of those things, Aaron. And yeah, I'm a big fan of the show. And for people that want to support Aaron and Gino, I can't wait to. This is gonna key out the green screen, but I can't wait to wear my Fagatini shirt. Available if you go to compoundmedia.com and you go to shop. There's all sorts of awesome shirts like this available. I'm gonna trigger some of these motherfuckers at the airport, Aaron, when I go back and they make you take off all
keep holding that shirt up. Hang on. Hold that shirt up. Look what he's holding up.
Gino, how's it going, buddy?
Fagatini, who is that?
Hang on. I'm sorry, I lost you.
Yeah, no worries, no worries.
Gino was saying hi, and I tried to take the headphones
Gino,
out.
how's it going, buddy? How's it going?
He said, how's it going, buddy?
Very well, man.
Thank
you for all the support.
No problem.
Joshua?
Jordan.
I'm sorry, buddy. Jordan.
I'll have to
Jordan
get you.
Maskell.
I'll have to get you on the show one of these days for sure. But yeah,
he said we'll have to get you on the show one of these days for sure.
Anytime, man.
So yeah, but
he said anytime. There we go.
Excellent. And another thing that I love, Aaron, is seeing you get all these spots like NFL on CBS. You were in The Kitchen, of course, maybe not Oscar-winning The Kitchen, but it's nice to see you get that exposure and stuff for sure.
Thank you. What a bad movie.
Oh, it was a terrible movie. I only saw bits and pieces, and I honestly think I fell asleep. But fuck, it's still you being in the movie and just having that section. It was cool to see as a fan for sure.
Thank you.
And of course, I don't want to keep you too much longer, Aaron. What's the best ways that fans can support you? Do you like going out and doing these live tours of In Hot Water? Like,
we love doing it. Wherever people want to see us live, we'll try and make it work. And if not, I'm in New York City all the time. We're always in the tri-state area doing In Hot Water live shows. And come by the studio. If you ever come to New York, make a trip out of it. It's real fun.
And of course, you can follow Aaron on social media, Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, all the same. Aaron Berg Comedy. His documentary, 25 Sets, is available now on iTunes and Amazon. You can subscribe to Compound Media to get In Hot Water. And then don't be a cheap fuck. Go out, spend the $5 to see Gum Fridays on Fridays and support Gino and Aaron because they're kicking ass. Of course, your book's still available on Amazon. Mr. Manners, Proper Etiquette for the Modern Degenerate, and American Etiquette, Failing Upwards in a Fox News Nation. Did the taping go well for your album?
Yeah, first show was awful. Second show was out of this world. So got a good album, and it'll be out early 2020. So I'm really excited.
Perfect. And keep an eye out on that. And of course, you're going to be in Canada for people who are watching here from Canada, January 30th to February 1st at Yuck Yucks on Ottawa. And you're doing hour-long sets with, of course, that's what I saw you do in London for sure. And you fucking destroyed the room. I don't think some people expected maybe some of the stuff you were saying, which again, being a fan, I love to see. And you also host Frantic with the hilarious Karen Feenhan, which is a free show at the Stand on Mondays. So go check that out for sure.
Awesome.
Aaron, thanks a lot, man, for making time to speak to me. And I hope you have a great rest of your tour and, enjoy the holidays with the family.
I will, man. Thanks so much for having me again. I hope to see you soon.
For sure. Okay. Take care, Aaron.
Brother.
Bye now.
All right, peace. Bye.
and the lovely Aaron Berg, of course. And you can follow me on Twitter, Maskell91. Check out Maskell Podcasting Network on iTunes. Rate, review, and share it with somebody who enjoys podcasting. Subscribe. Check out my shit on Maskell.tv. And until next time, thank you very much for watching.